What's up, Run Drive Bike community? Welcome to the Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. Gosh, I sound so stiff when I do that intro. I don't know why. But anyway, welcome to the Fireside Chat. I'm going to be joined by Alex Baker, who goes by Ketchup to Cancer on Instagram. One thing about him is he says, I hate ketchup, but I hate cancer more. And that's a topic that we're going to get into as we chat later on during this conversation. But before I bring Alex onto the show, please do me a favor and subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. I'm asking you for 5 stars for our network. But if you're so inclined to give us less than 5 stars, before you do, email me, jason@runtribemag.com, so that I can make adjustments to our show and make sure that we're getting you everything that you want and more, because it is important to me that our shows are exactly what you're looking for when it comes to conversations that are heart to heart, like I presume Alex and I are going to have, or that Truth and I just had last week. They're also funny and humorous, as you will attest to when you listen to Food Fight Friday at the Aid Station, presented by Seven Summit Snacks, as well as What's in Your Earbuds. Beyond the Finish Line is in the network. Enduring Minds is also on the network. We have it all, and we have great guests, and it helps because you guys are subscribing, rating, reviewing, and if you're using Spotify, commenting as well. So without any more rambling from me, let's bring Alex onto the show and let's have a wonderful conversation. Alex, my friend, how are you?
I'm fantastic. So glad to be here, Jason. Thanks for having me.
I am thrilled to have you on the show. And before we get into how we even got connected, because I think it's pretty damn cool how we got connected, I'm going to ask you the icebreaker question. But because you already did some research and homework and you were prepared for pineapple on pizza, I'm not going to ask you about pineapple on pizza.
Okay. All right.
Icebreaker question: chocolate chip cookie or oatmeal raisin cookie?
Hands down, chocolate chip cookie. It's got to have nice salt on top too, like some of that rock salt. Just chef's kiss.
You're wrong, but that's cool. I am a huge oatmeal raisin cookie fan.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, like, don't get me wrong, if you put a baker's dozen of chocolate chip cookies in front of me, I'm going to eat all 13 cookies. But for whatever reason, oatmeal raisin cookie has always been one of my favorites. I think it's like back in the day, you used to get like with icing over it. And I think that icing was like the thing that sealed the deal for me.
Yeah, I get that.
So let's jump into the conversation. I mentioned, like, I think it's a cool story how we got connected, and how you're on the show right now. And in large part, it's due to Ali Bracknauer and From Finish Lines to Milestones, her podcast. If I'm remembering correctly, you had listened to the episode that I was on with Ali and reached out to me. That's correct, right?
Yep, that's correct.
And I thought it was really cool because, first off, I saw Ketchup to Cancer and I was like, man, I hate both of those things. Before I even read a single word from you. And I was like, okay, we already have something in common. And then I read the bio and I was like, yeah, I definitely have to have Alex on the show and talk to him about this concept of Ketchup to Cancer, because it strikes me right in the heart, in all honesty. So thank you for taking the risk and just reaching out. Like a lot of people don't do that.
Of course. It's one of those weird things of like, well, like you opened up for an hour on Ali's podcast and it spoke to me. And so I wanted to share the same love and share that it impacted me. And so I'm glad we get to have this conversation here as well.
Thank you for reinforcing this idea of vulnerability being a connector instead of something that pushes people away. I think people are really afraid to be vulnerable because they're worried about the person they might lose as opposed to the people they're going to gain. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think once people take that step and are vulnerable, they have the connections start flowing, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes so much easier to just communicate, because so much of our conversations nowadays is just like surface level, like, oh, how's it going? How was your weekend? What's the weather? How was your run today? Like, okay, cool. But they never get a layer deeper. And social media, we've got this opportunity to just paint this perfect life. And we've forgotten to like tell me like how are you doing?
Yes.
Give me a little more, man.
So I used to work for a company called Travel Host, and my mentor owned the company. Bill Schroeder is his name, and we're both in sales. So you try to figure out what's the best approach to conversations in sales and all these hooks and everything else. The reality is, and Bill taught me this. He said instead of asking people what they do for a living or things like that, ask them what they do for fun. Because
Yeah.
once you ask them what they do for fun, like you've opened this door to their soul, and they're super pumped up to talk to you about it. Whereas when you ask somebody, what do you do for a living? Like most people will tell you, I hate my job. I don't want to commute. There's a lot of negativity to that.
Yep.
Um, and so when you ask them, what do you do for fun? That their personalities come out, and all of a sudden you can connect. And I think that's what vulnerability does for us as well.
Yeah. 100%. That we uh, when I was talking with Ali on her podcast, we talked about like what are you passionate about,
Yeah.
and similar concept, right? What do you do for fun? What are you passionate about? What excites you?
Yes.
Because people just light up, and the conversation is so different than what do you do for work, or ah, how many kids you got? Like,
Right.
okay, cool, yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, a lot of those things end up being a negative thing too, right? Like
Right.
I've got to take Timmy to soccer practice, and then I got to run and take the other kid to softball practice, and it just becomes
Yep.
like a burden of travel all around, and
Yep.
it's not the happiness that we want to talk about, and we should be sharing.
Yep.
Um, let's get into this a little bit. We're going to be talking about cancer, obviously,
Yep.
which is not the most fun topic, but I do think in this conversation, since we have both experienced cancer and loss of family through
Mhm.
this disease, that the vulnerability will be there. Will reach people who will say, oh, they're just like me. And look at, they're talking
Yeah.
about it openly. I'm going to ask you about your connection to cancer here in a moment, but I want people to hear my connection. So, I was 23 years old when my dad passed away from cancer. I had just graduated college, and actually, graduation weekend in '95, my parents came to campus to celebrate graduating college, first person in the family to do so. And that's when they gave me the news that my dad had cancer. So, positives and negatives in that weekend alone. And then a little over a year later, I lost him to cancer. And you have to make these decisions, caskets and burials and flowers and urns and like just all this stuff. And you're not prepared for it, not in any way, shape, form, or fashion. You experienced the loss of your wife in 2019. Can you give the audience sort of a little bit of background on finding out that your wife had cancer and how you dealt with it and how you guys worked together to kind of deal with this? Because it's a burden and not everybody's going to deal with it the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. So my wife Amanda, in 2017, she was kind of reconnecting with some old friends, some high school girlfriends, and so they started planning a couple of trips together. And one of those trips was to drive up to Chicago. And during that trip, when she was coming home, she was just in excruciating pain and just couldn't understand like what was going on. And when she got home and I saw her, it's one of those like you just know, like we are going to the hospital. Something is wrong here. And so we dropped our son off, who was then 2.5, and we went to the hospital. It was 9 o'clock at night. Um, they like, okay, maybe you're just constipated. Maybe you've got a blockage of something. But
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question
yeah,
right there
of course,
because I'm wondering as you're driving to the hospital, the conversation that you're having, is it on the lighter, and I don't mean lighter side of like joking, but more of
yeah,
it's not a serious scenario, or
yeah,
was it, or are you going through the gamut of things? Like maybe you're constipated, maybe it's cancer. Like, are you going through all of that, or are you just staying closer to the things that are um, less terminal, shall we say?
yeah. We had no idea. Like
Okay.
cancer was not a thought. It was just like, oh, you're in pain. What's going on? It's weird. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go get this checked out and see what's going on. And, you know, hearing about her trip, right? It was all jovial, like happy. No, obviously she's in pain, but nothing,
Okay.
nothing that was going to like, oh my God, you have cancer kind of thing. And so we get to the hospital. The doctor's like, you know, we're just going to do an x-ray just to see. And they do the x-ray and we're just sitting there twiddling our thumbs, ready to get back home. I'm actually supposed to fly to Denver that next morning. I have like a 6 a.m. flight or something. And so I'm just like ready to get home, ready to get finalized packing, that kind of stuff. And doctor comes back in. It's like, hey, something's a little abnormal. So let's do a CT scan. So he does a CT scan. By this time, it's midnight, 1 o'clock. So we're just waiting. We're waiting. 2 o'clock rolls around, 2:30. Then the doctor comes in and sits down, and Amanda's sitting in this hospital bed. I'm standing next to her, and he's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have cancer, and you need to see an oncologist in the next 48 hours.
No tiptoeing
And
around the conversation.
no, just here it is. And I remember like the out of body experience. Like I felt like I was looking at behind the bed, at the back of my head, at the doctor, right? Like, oh my God, what? And he's like, it's in your liver. It is in your lymph nodes and it's in your colon. So she primarily had colorectal cancer kind of right at the exit point. And so what she was feeling was the constipation pushing on the tumor that she had just been sitting in the car for, hours and hours, but driving back home. And then he said, go home, see ya. And like, that was it. And we
Were you angry in that moment? It almost, the way you're presenting it, it sounds dismissive.
No, I don't mean it to sound that way. It was
Okay.
just like, hey, you have to talk to an oncologist in the next 48 hours. That is all I can do for you here, kind of thing, right? And so he made a referral. It was, but it's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. There's nothing going to change between now and 9 a.m., right? When a doctor's office opens. So go home, get some sleep.
Okay.
So I get home. I email my coworkers that I'm supposed to be going on a trip with. I'm like, I'm not coming. I'm not going to explain why. Talk later. And so I get like frantic texts at like 6 a.m. from them, or is everything okay? What's going on? And I'm just not responding, right? And
it's an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it really is nobody's business in the grand scheme, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, in your mindset, if you knew that there were going to be those comments back and you somehow turned the switch off because there was something bigger and more important that you had to handle, as opposed to, well, let me now type and respond to everybody. Were you able to just like, I'm shutting this off and I'm moving on? I got bigger fish to fry, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, the difference a little bit between like a regular job and the job I had at the time, I was working for my fraternity. And so these were like fraternity brothers that I'd been close with for 10 years, right? And so it didn't feel like they were texting me like coworkers. They were texting me as friends.
Okay.
Like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? And like, I'll tell you later. I'm not ready to process this with you all. To your question about the car ride earlier, once we got back in the car at 3 o'clock in the morning, Amanda, being Amanda, was like, seriously, I have ass cancer. I couldn't even get a cool cancer. I have ass cancer.
Of all the cancers to pull.
and like, that was the start of an insane journey.
How did that make you feel? Did that, like, I mean, we talked about breaking the ice, the start of this conversation. But for you as a husband and as a
Yep.
father, did that help you break the ice and to say, okay, this is a reset and now let's tackle this, as opposed to doom and gloom and everything's going to go to shit?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good reaction in the moment. And then I got home, and she like went to the bathroom, took a shower, whatever she did, and I looked up the cancer she had. We did not have a stage. We did not have any information except it was bad.
Okay.
And I saw the survival rate of colorectal cancer was over 5 years was like 5 to 10%. And I never looked at that statistic again. Like I never looked up any other details. I kind of assumed it was the worst. It was
Right.
stage 4B. And yeah, that was it. Like she, this was going to get her, whether it was going to be one day, statistically, it was
Right.
one day later, 16 months later, which is what it was, or 5 years later, right? There are obviously people who live much longer than that. But statistically, that was it.
So what's the conversation now for planning? Because you don't know, there's no crystal ball that says 16
Yep.
months, because like you said, it might be one day.
Yep.
What's the process in planning for as comfortable of a life as you can provide? You
Yep.
still have to be a parent. You still have to be an employee in some capacity.
Yep.
What's the planning, and what does that look like in your house as you're going
Yeah.
through this?
It was all about flexibility and whatever the next best thing is. Like one day at a time, one phone call, 1 hour later, one whatever. And she went through over the course of 16 months 5 different regimens, and each regimen of chemo had different side effects and different times where it would like knock her out and for how long it would knock her out. And so we stopped telling our son we were going to go do things. Like we never made a plan to go to the children's museum, or we never made a plan. We'd buy tickets, but we'd never tell him because we just didn't want
Yeah.
that from a 3-year-old boy at the time, just like tears and all of that stuff. But
And
like,
they're not going to process, we can't go,
right.
right? Like, the question is going to be, when are we? When are we? When are
Yep.
we? And
Yep.
if you have to go to a doctor's appointment or something else, right?
Yep.
And so I understand that, and that's an approach I never actually considered, because I don't have kids, and so it's not something I've ever had to think about.
Yeah.
But it's a really important insight about preparing for something like this. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So her from there, we went from diagnosis to 2 weeks later. She had had a PET scan. She'd had a port put in so they could like easy access chemo. Um, she had multiple other tests, and she had her first chemo on Halloween. This was October 16th. She was diagnosed. Halloween, she was getting first chemo, and then from there it was just like we didn't know what we didn't know the whole time. We there was a doctor that we had that was just like, I'll fix you. I'll fix you. I don't remember what part of the world he was from, but I'll fix you. It's fine. I'll fix you. Okay. And like we just like followed the journey, and
Yeah.
then when the first regimen didn't work or it didn't help as much, then we try another one, and we ended up at 5 different treatment centers for consultations and review. Near the end, she got into a medical trial at MD Anderson, which is the number one cancer hospital in the country, which is fantastic. But the weekend we were supposed to go um, to start the trial, she was in the hospital for the whole weekend, and so we couldn't fly down from. I'm from Indiana, so from Indiana down to Texas, and to be able to get that treatment. And so it was just wild. And her oncologist, who we absolutely loved, the last one we worked with, um, put her on hospice on our 10th anniversary. That was like that day was
Yeah.
the bad news, and she lived about 3 more weeks after that, and that was it.
I I don't feel your pain exactly, but I feel your pain. My
Yeah.
my dad was in and out of hospice a couple of times, but the second time he was in hospice, he was like, "I just want to go home,"
Yeah.
and you knew when the phrasing was, "I just want to go home," that the end was near,
Yeah.
and it wasn't really much long after that he passed away. And so you said this was in 2017. She was diagnosed,
Yep.
right? And 16 months later, she
Yep.
passed away. So in 2019,
Yep.
we were chatting in the green room before the show, and you mentioned that you started running or walking in
Yeah.
2019. Were you walking prior to her passing as a way to help you deal with the stress, or was it post passing to help you deal with the stress?
Yeah, I did not take care of myself much of my life. I have been overweight since college, and so I've really struggled. I'd never been athletic. I'd never took the time to take care of myself. A lot of my I have Italian heritage, and it's a lot of our families just we take care of everybody else,
Yeah,
right? Like that's the thing. My grandmother would just she would cook for everybody in the family and then clear all the dishes and then eat herself, right?
yeah,
Like that was how I was raised. And so that's I just never took care of myself. And so after my son was 4 at the time, after losing Amanda, I realized like Riley could not lose another parent because
yeah,
I couldn't take care of myself. And
right.
so I started the journey of like going to a gym, starting to get healthy, starting walking. And so was listening to the Christy D episode earlier today, and she mentioned the Indianapolis 500, and we have this big, IndyCar race. And during the pandemic, they were doing this 500 mile like challenge.
Okay.
So you go walk 500 miles, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna do that. And so I walked 500 miles in 102 days, and just was like, wow, maybe I can actually run too. And
Yeah.
that I took that next first step to see what that journey light is like, and it has been a wild ride ever since taking that the first walking step at least.
When you were doing the walking out of
Hmm.
the gate, and you were reflecting, I presume,
Yeah.
on staying alive for
Yep.
your son. Like, were there moments in there where you were like, I just don't want to get out and walk today, but I have to? And when you got out there on those days where, oh, I have to, how much time can you, if you can remember, was spent thinking about Riley, was spent thinking about Amanda as sort of that motivation to take another step?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely during the 102 days gave myself days off. I realized like I can't do every day. I
Yeah,
traveled for work, right? But I also learned that it was important to find time for myself in some way,
yeah,
shape, or form,
yeah,
right? And so I've always tried to find little ways to acknowledge Amanda. So I wear wristbands in her honor still. My Amanda was a big fan of the band 311.
yeah.
And so I don't do a 5K. I do a 3.11, right?
Dude,
You got
that's
to
cool. That's
just that
cool.
little bit, right?
Yeah,
But
that's cool.
it's a nod, and it's a way to remember the journey I've come on
Yeah.
uh, all this way.
Yeah, what's interesting about trauma is, right, there's the fight or flight component
Hmm.
to it, right? A lot of us
Yep.
will run away from certain traumas, and others of us will, tackle it head on. And I think the idea of wearing, a wristband bracelet, running 3.11 is acknowledging it and saying, yeah, it was a hard time. Yes, it wasn't something that I want to repeat ever again in my life,
Yeah.
but it gives you perspective, does it not?
Yeah. It really does. And I had a friend share with me that grief is like a box, a ball, and a button. When you first experience some traumatic event, this ball fills this box, and it's just always pressing on the button at all times. And over time, that ball shrinks, and then it starts bouncing around, and eventually, it hits that button again. And that was the grief kind of traveled with me all of those miles. And there
Yeah.
were days that I just call button days, and it's because like it hit me. I'd cry in the shower.
Yeah.
I'd cry in the middle of a walk. I'd, you know, just break down for no reason
Yeah.
because it something, some memory, something just impacted me and broke me in that moment.
That's it. That's an amazing analogy. Thank you for sharing that. Like,
Yeah.
it's a really good analogy for us, for listeners, and for myself to use to process, to understand the processing of trauma and grief for sure. Um, you mentioned that you walked for 102 days, 500 miles, and then you asked yourself, maybe I can run. What was that like? What was the idea of running like for you, and what doors, not physically, but emotionally, did it open?
Yeah, the first time I ran a mile blew my mind. Like the last time I had run a mile was probably middle school, right? Middle
Okay.
school gym when you're forced to do it on the track for
Yeah.
whatever. Like that was it. And I was 34 when Amanda passed. And so I'm 35-ish at that point. And like it's been 20 years, 20 plus years that I've not been able to physically do this. And it blew my mind to like just run a mile. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like wildly fast, right? But it was different, and
Yeah.
it it made me more curious about what else I could do, right? Could I run a mile and a half? Could I run an 11-minute mile? Could I run a 10-minute mile? Could I? And
Yeah.
it made me start thinking about all of the ways I can push myself in completely different ways than what I do it professionally or as a parent, or how can I discover more of who I am? Because when Amanda passed, I would sit on my couch at home and I'm like, I don't like, what TV do I watch? Like we did so many things as a couple, right?
Yeah.
And oh, well, what music should I listen to? Like what how how do I who am I? Who is Alex again?
Yeah.
And it opened up such an interesting way for me to discover that and challenge and push and grow and uh, catch up to cancer and do
Yeah.
some cool stuff. So
It's as you're talking, I'm thinking about sort of like a rebirth, refining of yourself, coming to grips with that. Because again, we've all been teenagers, and being a teenager sucks at times, right? Because you don't know who you are. You're trying to figure it all out, but now you're an adult, right? And you're supposed to have all your shit together as an adult. I'm 51 years old. I don't have anything together, in all honesty. And so we're supposed to have all of this stuff together. And now you've been hit in the face with a baseball bat.
yep.
And you're now being asked to find yourself all over again. And running is now going to be a conduit for you to do that.
Yeah.
And so, how does running at this moment, okay, I can run a mile, fast is relative, whatever that is,
Yep.
then become, I'm going to do 5K, half marathon? Like, how do you find that progress? Are you saying to yourself, I've already done hard shit. I've dealt with my wife's cancer. I've had to tell my son that his mother is no longer with us. I've done hard shit. This is running. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. I think that was the progression, really, just as you described it. It's like, I wonder if I could. I wonder if I could. I wonder, over and over and over, and just push yourself a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And I mentioned I like to make nods to Amanda. So she passed away on February 5th. And so the first year I went to New York and went to a Broadway show that we had some kind of ties to. And then I went to this restaurant that we never were able to get a reservation for, but always wanted to. And so, like, that was a cool first year.
Yeah.
Well, my second year, I ran a half marathon because I had built myself, from October till February. Okay, I'm going to do 2 miles. I'm going to do a 5K. And about a week and a half before, I ran 10 miles for the first time in my life. And I was like, holy crap, if I can do 10 miles, I could, doing some I could do a half marathon on Amanda's anniversary. And that's the way I celebrate this journey of rebirth, as you called it. And the, like, just changing what my life is and what my trajectory is for the rest of my life. Because I'm not going to be the dude who doesn't take care of himself anymore.
Look, I don't wish trauma on anybody. If you can get through life trauma free, kudos to you. I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
be damn near impossible. But as you're talking, Alex, I'm hearing in my head like all these opportunities for perspective and connection to all these different things. Like, it is damn cool that you were like, hey, I can run this half marathon on this day on February 5th. Like, that's a really cool connection. So now that half marathon will stick with you for the rest of your life. Where there are other half marathons I'm sure you've run, you're like, I have no idea. Like, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I bring all of this up because I oftentimes, like, trauma, we either, like I said, we either run away from it or we tackle it head on and we try to bury it in other instances. But in this scenario, it's giving you perspective. It's giving you this opportunity to look at it and reflect, which I'm sure brings a smile to your face today. Maybe not, 5 or 6 years ago as
Sure.
you were going through it all, but today as you continue to process, it's got to bring a smile to your face. Like, I was able to do this on that day.
Yep. 100%. And it was wild. It was crazy cold. There was an ice storm the night before. So I was like running in the middle of my neighborhood, like in the middle of the street, just trying to not slip and kill myself, right?
Right.
on the ice. But yeah, it's still to this day one of the coolest runs that I've done and most memorable things. So
Shout out to the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation kids that have joined us on Instagram. Thanks for being here. It's an important conversation, and what you do is important. So thanks for being here. I did realize too that this past February was 2525, and like that's I don't know if you did anything special for it, from a memory standpoint, but I was like, oh, I wonder if he did something on 2525 because that's not going to happen again, not in our lifetime.
Right. I didn't do anything explicitly because of that, right?
Yeah.
I did a 5K run, or well, a 3.11
Yeah.
run, and then I did some travel around it. I don't remember if it was before or after, but yeah, kind of not specifically to the
Yeah.
2525, but that's a good call.
So I just mentioned the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation,
Yeah.
and obviously they're a fundraiser. They're a nonprofit that raises money for pediatric cancer research. You are also raising funds through your Ketchup to Cancer fundraising arm. And so before we get into that, and I'm going to make light of the idea that, like I told you earlier, like, I also hate ketchup and I also hate cancer. But like, how did this concept of Ketchup to Cancer come about?
Yeah. So last year, my now fiance and I went to the July 4th parade in the town we were at. And it was pouring rain and, people just handing out candy or whatever. And we swore there were people handing out ketchup packets.
Oh
And we were
no.
like, oh man, wouldn't that be funny to just hand out ketchup packets at this parade? And so we're like, oh man, we should look into that next year, because it's always seemed like just like random businesses and random people have a float or whatever in the parade. And so about 45 days before July 4th this year, I looked it up and it cost $50 to participate in this parade. Like $50, that's it? Okay. And so I was like, well, maybe we can buy some ketchup, and it'd be like funny to just hand out ketchup. And I was out mowing, and I'm like, how do I make this relevant? How do I ketchup to cancer, ketchup to cancer? And I like stop the mower, I run inside, and I'm like, Lindsay, ketchup to cancer. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're nuts. And I was like, the parade, catch up to cancer. And it said it a little slower, right? Catch up to cancer. And then it clicked for her, and I was off to the races. I bought 5,000 ketchup packets, and we stickered them with a little QR code, and like we designed some shirts, and we did some aprons, and had like family come with us, and we walked the parade and handed out 5,000 ketchup packets, and yeah, just it's clever, it's catchy. Side note: hate ketchup so much, it's disgusting. I do not think I have intentionally eaten ketchup since I was like 5,
I,
and like I'm out.
I was
Disgusting.
I was a little bit later in life, probably a teenager before I was like, this is not good,
No.
and I have not eaten ketchup my entire adult life either,
Yeah.
on purpose, as you say.
Yep.
Every now and again, somehow somebody puts it on a burger, and you're like, and
Yeah.
you know immediately, right?
Yep. You do.
You know immediately, and you take the bun off and the napkin, and
Yeah.
you're swiping it off.
Yes. So gross. But now like ketchup is like my shtick. Like
Yeah.
people, friends and family have been giving me like, oh, I found this banana ketchup. Oh, I found this ketchup stuffy. Target has like this ketchup packet pillow. And so like that showed up randomly at the house. Like, cool. You all know like I hate this, right?
What is the you have a website, is it
Yep.
ketchuptocancer.com?
.com. Yes, sir.
.com. And it's
Yep.
you're raising funds
Yes.
for St. Jude's, correct?
Yep. Correct.
And you're on a journey to race the Abbott 6 World Majors.
Yep.
You've already raced New York and Chicago,
Yep.
and you fundraised for those 2 races, and you're in the process of raising money for Berlin and London, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and I also did Boston with a different cancer related charity, but
Okay.
still, I've so far I've raised $35,000 over the. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. That was for New York, Boston, and Chicago, 35,000, and now I've committed to St. Jude an additional $26,200. Obviously, the marathon distance, and so right now I'm fundraising 6,500 for Berlin, 10,000 for London, and 10,000 for Tokyo as well. So I expect to finish those in the next 18 months. Yeah, Berlin is in 3 weeks. 2 weeks, and so I'm super excited to get on a plane and fly across to the globe to go do something insane, right?
I for those of you who are watching on YouTube, whether live or recorded, like I'm wiping my eye because like what you're doing is amazing, man. Again, we talked about this in the green room. If you've lived a second on this planet, you've been impacted by cancer, even if you don't know it. And to hear somebody who is taking the sport of running and raising what will amount to being $61,000 for cancer research is unbelievable. It is literally unbelievable because, not to be cynical, but we live in a selfish world where most people wouldn't do that for somebody else, right? And you're out here doing it, and that's uber commendable. And I want listeners, ketchuptocancer.com, go there, help Alex reach his goals over these next 18 months, to help with the cancer research. Now, let me ask you this: as you're training and through the races you've already gone through, you have inspiration and motivation through Amanda, through Riley, and now is this idea of fundraising an additional inspirational component as you're going through this process of, hitting the wall at mile 18 through 20, as most of us do, right?
Yep.
Is there another component to motivation for you at that point then?
Yeah, fundraising is how I fight back. Cancer, as you said earlier, basically like punched me in the face,
Yeah.
and it tore my life apart in ways still 6 years later, right? That I'm still discovering things. A few months ago came across one of her journals, and a few months ago or a month or so ago, I finally took all of her T-shirts and put them into a blanket for Riley. Like things grief processing still years later, right, in different ways. But fundraising is how I'm fighting back because cancer sucks. It is. Amanda used to post hashtag fuck cancer all the time. Like that was her, because it sucks. It just tears everything apart. I think what a lot of people don't think about too is like, yes, the patient who is going through it is going through some absolutely horrendous stuff, but the support system around them too is also going through horrendous stuff. And
Yeah.
oftentimes they don't take care of themselves well enough. And
100%.
so a little side tangent, but to go back to your question, it's being able to fundraise helps motivate me, because I know that the kids at St. Jude, no family is ever going to receive a bill for treatment, for housing, for food, for travel, nothing. And when the first $400,000 bill showed up at our house, I was terrified.
I would
It
imagine.
said $1.2 million pending insurance, but that was 2 weeks of treatment.
Right.
Like we were just getting started, and here you go, $400,000. And to be able to make sure that every family who is at St. Jude, who treats kids with cancer in a lot of the worst cases in the world, and the research that they do is outstanding. They share it across the globe with hospitals, but being able to focus on the one thing that's important for those families, which is being there for their kid, is so important. To never have to worry about a bill coming in. The housing, the meals that they have are fantastic. I've been lucky enough to go to the hospital about a dozen times in my professional career, which is how I got connected with St. Jude. And it's amazing. They don't transport kids between hospital rooms or treatments in the hospital beds. They bring them in little red wagons. And so the kids can feel like kids and not like cancer patients. And it's just sad and depressing. No, everything is bright and colorful and happy. And they, I don't know, they make you feel like they are giving you the best care possible, and also being treated as well, and not have to worry about things like, where am I going to sleep tonight? Do I have to move to Memphis, Tennessee? Right? Like, what am I going to do? And that's a huge thing for me. Like knowing that that's taken care of. It's that motivator, right? At 18 to 20 to the finish line.
What happens in 18 months? You cross the finish line at Tokyo. What happens next? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put my Brooks up on a shelf, and I'm gonna leave them there for a little bit. This journey has not been easy for me. I've been through physical therapy 4 times so far. I did 3 marathons in 11 months. And so Boston, Chicago, and New York was in 11 months. And like my body's tired. And so
I'm mentally too, I bet.
Yeah. But I think there's some staying power in Ketchup to Cancer, right? It's a message that makes a lot of sense, and it's easy to describe. And so I've thought about, do I start looking to become an official charity and get bibs for all of these races? Or do I sponsor charity runners, right? Charity runners so often get a bad rep, especially in like Boston area. And charity runner, like I put crazy amounts of time on my feet. Again, I am not a Boston qualify runner. I finished Boston in 6 hours and 1 minute. So I was out there. Like, thank you. My training runs, like the 2 weeks ago, I did 19 miles. It took me 4 hours and 5 minutes. For some, 19 miles might be 2 hours, right? And so I'm still putting the time in there. I'm putting more time. I'm also putting the efforts to fundraise and to talk about the importance of making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
Because yeah, cool. Some people can just run it, and like I would love to be able to qualify officially for Boston, but I knew that's not in my cards. What
Oh,
are in my cards is making a difference and being able to raise money and change somebody's life, hopefully.
I think like when the whole Boston qualifying time conversation rolls around and charity bibs roll around, we tend to lose the plot a
Yes.
little bit, right? Like
Yes.
I'm raising money for cancer research or for whatever it is the person is raising money
Yep.
for. It's not taking a spot away from anybody. Right? The organization has already designated these bibs for that
Yep.
reason, and they're still, allotting how many ever other runners to run. Like nobody's missing out.
Right.
But beyond that, let's think about what we're actually talking about, right? You can go run 26.2 miles tomorrow. Go outside your front door and run 26.2
Yep.
miles and run it as fast as you can, and you run it in 2.5 hours. That's not a, a detractor because you didn't do it at Boston. You still ran it in 2.5 hours, right?
Right. Yeah.
We just, we have this, we made it an official race. And so somehow that counts. But if you did it on a random Tuesday, somehow it doesn't.
Right. It's
I
got to be
don't
on Patriots Day. That's the only way
right.
it counts, right?
I don't know how we managed to fall into this trap, but here
Yep.
we are.
Yep.
But I do think like people who are raising money for charities need to be commended because they are doing all the training and they are raising funds, which is both physically and mentally stressful, right? Like it's
Yeah,
just
it is.
because you got to
'Cause
cover if you don't make it, right?
yep. When I signed up for London, I gave them my credit card, knowing that if I don't raise a dime, $10,000 is coming out on my credit card.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that makes all of a sudden that makes every run even more stressful,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, well, maybe I should be spending time, fundraising and doing something to collect money instead of going out and running 19 miles in 4 hours. That 4 hours could have been better spent raising money so I don't get caught with, a $10,000 credit card bill.
Right.
Simultaneously, you're like, yeah, but I got to cross the finish line too.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Like again, so you're a champion in my mind, dude. Like
Thank you.
that is so commendable, and I hope one day that we stop dunking on people who are going to any one of these races and raising money and look at the
Yep.
bigger picture.
Same.
So you didn't actually answer the question. You said you're going to put your shoes up on the
Oh,
shelf.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so my running shoes, like I need a break,
Yeah.
but I think Ketchup to Cancer has some staying power, and
Yeah.
I think that's where I want to focus differently. How can I inspire more people? How can I support more runners? How can I, to your point, how can I elevate charity runners in some way by the
Yeah.
platform that I'm starting to build over the last several months, and over the next 18 months, to highlight and open up an audience to people that you know might be struggling to raise those funds, especially like big races like Boston. It's a $10,000 commitment, pretty standard. You get some maybe 7,500, but even then that's still
It's
a
still a lot.
lot of money.
You ever think about? I don't know if you're a baseball fan, um, but I'm a huge baseball fan,
Okay.
and every year during the playoffs, but especially in the World Series games, they have in between innings, usually the seventh inning, sixth inning, they will have stand up to cancer, with
Oh
Masterclass.
yeah. Yep.
And so they do this whole big thing, and they'll show fans in the stadium holding up the stand up to cancer sign, and the announcers in the booth will tell a story about how cancer has impacted them. I'm going to challenge you
Okay.
to in the next 18 months, when you after you've hung up your Brooks, to figure out a way, and I'm happy to help you. How do we make Ketchup to Cancer within these marathons the same way that they do stand up to cancer with Major League Baseball?
Oh
Because I
man.
think it would be super impactful if there was, a photo booth and there was a card that said Ketchup to Cancer, and I'm running for whomever they're running for, right?
Yeah.
Because one, I think it would help you raise money hand over fist, right?
Yeah.
Two, it would tie in running into this into cancer fundraising, because running is an excellent form. It's therapeutic. It will allow people,
Mhm.
it allows people to process grief and trauma and realize that they can do hard things as well. And so there's a connection there. So I don't mean to give you any extra work.
Yeah. I
I think it
appreciate
would
it,
be
actually.
I think it would be damn cool if there were like something that looked like a race bib that said
Yeah.
catch up to cancer, no different than stand up to cancer, and it became a thing at marathons all across the country. Obviously, if we could make it work with the majors, that's awesome.
Sure.
There are plenty of other marathons with plenty of other runners who are doing amazing things. And if there was a way to set up a photo booth or something like that where people can
Yeah.
tell their story and share, and that becomes a fundraising arm for Catch Up to Cancer to allow this to progress, I think that would be a damn cool thing, man.
Yeah, well, I am very mad at you right now because that seed is now right here and is going to just bug me. Just, hey, remember that amazing idea? Yeah, okay. How do I? And I'm challenge accepted. In summary, I think is what I'm saying.
And you have my contact information. This is
Yes,
this is not a hey, go take care of this, Alex. Call me when you're done. I'm happy to do whatever I can. If you
sweet.
think that there's an opportunity for Run Try Bike and the Everyday
Yeah,
Athlete Clubhouse and the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network to help out catch up to cancer, I'm all in, dude. Like I just think that what
I
you're
love it.
doing is amazing. Um, and again, like I said in the green room, like if you've spent 1 second on this planet, you've been impacted by cancer, and so being able to create a platform that allows people to say it's impacted me and I'd like to share my story, I think would be phenomenal. So I'm happy to help
Yeah,
however I can.
I love it. Thank you very much.
You got it. So we're bumping up on time here, and I
Okay,
try to add some levity to our shows. But before I do, catchuptocancer.com is one of the places that people can find you. Where else can they find you to learn more about you and your story, as well as donate to help you raise the funds for Berlin, London, and Tokyo?
yeah, ketchuptocancer.com is the perfect one-stop shop. It's got my link for Berlin right now. As soon as I hit my goal for Berlin, that'll change automatically to London. You can also check me out on Instagram at ketchuptocancer, is my Instagram handle. My personal account, if you're interested, is Alexander D Baker. I share kind of similar content on both, but Instagram is Ketchup to Cancer is probably my primary place to keep up with what's going on in my life.
Make sure you give him a follow. And if you have the means, please help donate and help raise funds for Alex's goals. $26,200 in the next 18 months. So let's make it happen, folks. So here, let's get some levity onto the show and do a rapid fire food scenario, food questions. You ready?
Perfect. Let's go.
Okay, so we skipped pineapple on pizza to start with, but the answer to pineapple on pizza is
Is it's not for me, but if like my stepdaughter really likes it with like a garlic sauce instead of red sauce, though.
yes.
Okay.
See, your stepdaughter, genius level,
Yeah.
because my wife also likes pineapple on pizza, but
Okay.
only with a white sauce. One, she's allergic to tomatoes, so that's out
Okay. Right.
automatically.
Right. Right.
But I've said this before, and Truth Bachman, who was on our show last week, he says, or they, excuse me, say that they really like acidic tomato sauce, and I'm the
Okay.
same way.
Yep.
So adding acidic pineapple to acidic tomato sauce is horrible. Nobody wants
Yeah.
acid on acid.
Nope.
But when you put it on a white sauce, now all of a sudden you have this refreshing mixture of flavors that I can get behind that. It's not for
Okay.
me. I probably won't eat it, but I will thumbs up you for doing it.
All right. Well, I'll take it.
Yeah. Oreos. Are you a fan of the original, double stuff, mega double stuff, thins, or cakesters?
I think the OG is probably where I'm going to go, but I also don't know the last time I had an Oreo. So,
Really?
yeah,
I had one
it's
about
just,
15 minutes ago.
did you? That's amazing. My go-to, so I mentioned my Italian heritage, cannolis. I like
Yes.
if there's a spot that's got a cannoli, I'm in.
My gosh. So here's the thing. So I am a huge fan of Oreos. I have been tagging them in everything that I do to try to get a sponsorship with them.
Yep.
I want them to sponsor the Oreo 100, which is a race I've
Ooh.
designed that goes from Oceanside to Redondo Beach to the Pacific Ocean. Let's make it happen, Oreo. But make this happen first, which is a cannoli version of the Oreo. If you use the golden cookie,
Yeah.
and then the filling is a ricotta pistachio flavor. I
So
mean,
good.
come on, right? And if you want to take it
All
next
day.
level, you chop up a little bit of chocolate chips in there, into the filling too.
Yep.
Mondelez, let's make it happen.
Yes.
They have a limited edition flavor out right now, apple pie a la mode, which is
Ooh.
fantastic. They put
Okay.
out a limited edition blueberry pie recently. Oh,
Interesting.
it's so good. There's only been now 3 double thumbs up reviews from me. That's the OG, that's the blueberry pie, and the apple pie a la mode. Like,
All right.
they hit it out of the park with those 3. But I think if they did the cannoli one, they would have
Fire.
to keep it in the rotation. It couldn't be a special edition because people would
Nope.
scoop them up. And then we'd all order it like this Oreo.
That's right. Yes. Amazing.
Licorice, red or black, or neither.
Trash can. It's in the ketchup category. Like, I'm good.
No Sambuca in your house. That's out.
No.
Peeps. Are Peeps a real candy, or are they just better off being doorstops?
Door stops. When you asked that question, though, I did wonder what would a peep s'more be like?
You might get me there. You might get me
But
there.
doorstop generally.
So let's go the s'mores route. When you put the marshmallow in the campfire, are
Mhm.
you like lightly toasted, somewhat toasted, or charcoal briquette?
Lightly toasted, I think. So somewhere between like a nice golden brown to like lightly toasted. It's good. Good middle ground for me.
I'm all in on the charcoal briquette, and
Are
and
you?
yes, oh yes. And I had a guest tell me, I think it was Jennifer Comfort who told me this, that she likes it charcoal briquette too. That when you peel the outer layer off and you have that like melty marshmallow, put it
Yes.
back in the fire.
Oh,
Right? Like that's genius. I never thought of
yeah.
that. I'm 51 years old, never thought of that. That is genius
That
level
is.
because that sugar is going to crystallize and burn quickly too. And now I mean, it's like the movie Inception, right? You just keep peeling it off.
Yeah. There you go. It's amazing.
Candy corn. Is candy corn a real candy or is it just earwax covered in sugar?
Definitely earwax.
Yes.
Yeah, that's trash.
We are moving along at a good clip here. Creamy or crunchy, peanut butter or nut butter if you have allergies?
Uh, Creamy.
Okay.
When Also aside, I got to travel to Italy last summer, and I had pistachio cream for the first time,
Okay.
and that blew my mind. But creamy, that's kind of a general, like the crunch in like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich feels weird to me. Like
Okay.
soft bread crunch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you don't put potato chips in your peanut butter and jelly sandwich like I do?
I do not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good. That little extra kick of salt is awesome.
Ah, okay.
Speaking of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, how do you make it? Before you answer, I'll explain. Do you go peanut butter on one slice of bread, jelly on the other, smash them together? Or do you go peanut butter on one slice of bread, jelly over the top of that, and then smash them together?
Separate. Peanut
Separate and
butter.
smash them together.
Yep.
And then do you just bite into it like corn on the cob? Do you cut it into 2 rectangles, 2 triangles, 4 squares, or 4 triangles?
Yeah, bite into it just straight in. The only time generally I eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is at the Indianapolis 500. That is like the one food you're allowed to bring food in, and I bring it in, I put it in a plastic bag, and just like,
Are we
you
sure
know,
you're a runner? That's the only time you eat peanut butter and jelly?
yeah, I know. It's just, uh, I will put peanut butter on like bagels or
Yeah.
like pretzel buns and stuff,
Yeah.
but peanut butter jelly together is a race food for me.
Is the pretzel bun the king of all hamburger buns? Or
Yes,
is
no
there a better
question.
one? No question, right?
No question.
Yeah, I will arm wrestle anybody with that one. Like, there's absolutely no question.
Yes, so good.
It's so good. Have you ever had a hot dog or a sausage in a pretzel bun? So like the elongated style?
Oh, I haven't. I have seen a few of those, but I've never tried it.
Yeah, fantastic. It's that soft pretzel bun. For
Yeah.
me, like mustard and sauerkraut is my go-to on a
Ooh.
hot dog, and that
Okay.
pretzel bun just adds a little bit of something special, man.
Yeah. I grew up outside of Chicago, and so the Chicago dog with a poppy seed bun,
Yeah.
the tomato and onion and relish and all of that stuff, that's a hot dog to me.
So are you also, as a Chicago person, a deep dish pizza person or a New York style?
New York style. And
All
I
right, good.
know
I'm
that
glad we
that
got you
might
out of that
feel
style.
what's a
It's good. I'm glad we got you out of that
yeah,
tomato soup bowl.
right. The casserole pizza.
That's exactly right. Red velvet cake. Is red velvet a real flavor or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Uh, Definitely dressed up. I don't understand red velvet. Like, what are you doing? I don't.
It's a Seinfeld episode. I don't understand red velvet. What are you doing? Larry David
Amazing.
couldn't write a better joke. That was fantastic. I don't get it either, dude. Like,
Oh,
if you go to a bakery, it does taste different. They use alkalized cocoa, and
okay.
it does taste different, no doubt about it.
Yep.
But you go to a grocery store, like they're not doing that, and they're going
No.
to charge you $8.99 for the $4.99 chocolate cake. Like you're paying $4 more for red food dye. Just go eat the chocolate cake.
Right.
Come on,
Come on. Be better.
you you answered the chocolate chip oatmeal raisin. So we're I guess we're officially into autumn. September 1st, the unofficial end
Yep.
of summer just happened. Apple cider or pumpkin spice?
Apple cider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite way to enjoy apple cider? Is it cold? Is it as a hot drink? Or is it in the form of a donut?
Ooh. Donut is
Yeah,
no question.
no
Uh,
question.
there was this town, this apple orchard outside of where I grew up, this like little town in Illinois, and they had the most amazing apple cider donuts. And I went back for the first time in 30 years, and it was as good as I remembered from a kid. And it's, I had a friend just like overnight them to me
Oh,
because they're just amazing.
I'll send you my address so your friend can send it.
Perfect.
This way. We lived in Seattle for a year, and obviously Washington is an apple state. And we went to an apple orchard, and I got a dozen donuts. And there's a picture on the internet floating around of me eating them, and it was by far the best apple cider donut I've ever had. And what I didn't eat all dozen when we were there. I probably ate four of
Yeah.
them though. Is I put the rest of them in the freezer, and so like every day I would go, I'd take one out of the freezer, let it sit out and thaw.
Mm-hmm. So
Utopia,
good. Yep.
utopia. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
It does not.
Pop tarts, frosted or unfrosted?
Frosted.
Favorite flavor?
Um, the like OG cinnamon
Okay, yeah,
is like my go-to. Like the carb loading before
yep.
a marathon, I will buy a box of those and just nom on some
You're
OG cinnamon.
we're gonna be running out of time here soon. So, are you a coffee drinker?
I'm not.
Okay, so then we'll skip that question and we'll go to this one instead.
Okay.
You have your druthers. It doesn't matter what the cost is. You can order whatever you want off of a menu at your favorite Italian restaurant. What's the dish you're ordering?
Ooh, man, that is a good question.
Yeah, we only do hard hitting journalism here.
Yeah, that's right. Um, so I went to Carmelina's in Boston's North End, and they had a gorgonzola pasta so it was like a creamy gorgonzola with a little bit of tomato sauce, and it. I took a picture of it, and like 5 years later, went back to the same restaurant, went and found the picture, be like, what did I get? And that's what it was. So
I love it.
I love cooking chicken piccata at home. That's or salmon piccata. Those seem to be kind of standard things in our house a lot. But that Carmelina's pasta was amazing.
Here's how you know it's good. When somebody talks about food and they talk about it with their eyes closed because they're envisioning it, right? Like,
Yes.
that's how you know that the dish is on point. Like,
Yep.
Amanda Katz, she does a lot of videos of her eating like Pop-Tarts or eating food.
Yeah.
And I always look for the tell when I know she really enjoys it. So one time she posted a picture of a Pop-Tart and she closed her eyes and nodded as she was eating it, right?
Okay.
Like, that's when you know that the food
Yep.
is good. I'm a huge Stanley Tucci fan. He used to have a show on CNN, like Explore Italy or something like that. And he would, he's taste testing all of this stuff. And I can't remember the dish he had, but he looked at the camera and he said, God damn, this is good.
Yes.
And like when a personality, a TV personality is saying it that way, like, get on a plane, go to Italy, order whatever it was that he had, because it's going to be, a grand slam home run for sure.
Yeah. He has a Disney picked them up, or Nat Geo picked him up, and he's got a new season as well. So, but Stanley is fantastic.
Thank you for the insight, because I love what he does with these cooking shows. They are amazing. So we're going to close out on this. Your favorite pasta is what?
Like pasta shape?
Yes.
Cascatelli.
Okay, explain that to me. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Okay, so there's this guy. He has a podcast called The Sporkful. And so Lindsay and I were driving down to Florida with our kids to go to Disney. And they had, we were trying to find a podcast we could listen to. So we listened to The Sporkful. And he did a 6-episode series about creating his own pasta shape.
No way.
Oh yeah. And he went through all of these iterations and like got a custom bronze die and like tried iteration after iteration after iteration and developed a new shape that he ultimately called Cascatelli because it looks like waterfalls. And it's he's got 3 criteria for how a pasta is like good. It's tooth sinkability, sauceability, and now forkability. So can you actually fork it? How chewy is it? And how much hot sauce does it hold?
Yeah.
And he developed this fantastic shape that does all 3 at an exponentially well level. Walmart carries it now. You can get it online. Like it was maybe like made the cover of Time magazine or something, like something insane a couple years ago, but highly recommend.
Let this be a lesson to you, kids. Chase your dreams.
Yes.
Right? Like, seriously, chase your dreams. My favorite pasta, and it does, for me, it hits on all 3 of those points there, is bucatini. Because it does have a tooth feel to it, because it's a little wider than a regular spaghetti. The sauce can get inside because it's hollowed out. And you can actually twist, the fork in there, and it'll stick because it's slightly thicker, and it'll hang into the prongs of a fork. So bucatini is my favorite when it comes to
bucatini is really good.
But Cascatelli, now I have to go look for it.
Yeah, please do. You'll appreciate it.
Alex, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on the show and chatting with me for a little bit.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate the time you spent with me here as well.
Absolutely. I'll see you soon.
All right.
For those of you who stuck around for this last hour, thank you so much for being a part of the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. My thought is that time is the greatest gift that we can give to each other, and you have given me the gift of your time, so thank you very much. Make sure you check out the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform, and once again, please subscribe, rate, review, and if you're using Spotify, comment. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week on the Fireside Chat, where I will be chatting with Mireli Sine, who is a running coach who has been dealing with lupus. So it'll be a fantastic conversation. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.